just Kendrick, I would make love to him, and there's nothing he could do about it. Just Kendrick Lamar, I would make love to him, and the only thing that he could do is decide if it's consensual or not.
I want to be very clear. I am saying fuck Schulz. I don't think he deserves a platform. His ultimate goal is to be one of these people that slowly moves into more red pilly, more right wing like philosophy, so that he can tap into that base whenever he feels like he wants to be the crossover artist while still trying to maintain some level of being quote unquote down with the culture to allow him to push the envelope and be able to say like, well, look, man, I hang out with Charlemagne.
Especially if Charlemagne is such a staunch Kendrick ally and supporter. And the white man that's literally less than a foot from you says some shit like that, and you don't even give him donkey of the day.
But I do find it odd that there were a significant amount of minority men, specifically black men, that were willing to excuse and defend his behavior when they thought they weren't explicit targets in the way that they became targets as a part of the Kendrick Lamar conversation.
And just the image of this white man doing that to one of our most prominent black male figures is absolutely insane. And just like you said, like, what the fuck was the point? Because that was not a fucking joke. Like, it's not, there's nothing funny about it. There's no punchline there. It's just you straight up saying that you would grade Kendrick Lamar as an analogy to how bad you would beat him up in a one-on-one fight in response to a goddamn one bar. Niggas get killed for less. And I'm not saying, I hope Andrew Schulz gets killed or one of Kendrick's posses, but
it's a red flag.
So they either got to rework the playoff system or just get rid of the conference championships. Because even if we had lost, we still would have probably got in, and that's kind of ridiculous. But you know, I don't make the rules.
I'll help them niggas barely make the rules. I think they're still like ironing out the kinks, like low key.
Fair enough. That's probably true. And this is the first year. Like, who knows? Who knows what happens going forward? But with all that being said, welcome to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 sports analysis and college football playoff ranking podcast in the Western Hemisphere. Probably nowhere else. I don't even know if anybody else cares other than
actually
the
in Hawaii too. In Hawaii, you don't count us out everywhere. Hawaii fuck with us.
Touche.
And the Atlantis, you know what I'm saying?
All the hidden worlds.
Everywhere that we don't know.
But they still somehow fuck with us because they know us.
Exactly. It's like that shit that Kanye said.
Vintage Kanye. But all right though, man. What we getting into first?
Oh shit, we gotta tell them where Eddie at. And we gotta introduce ourselves because, like, even though we're
first of all, I just want to say that the problem is that I don't know where Eddie is. So this nigga took a day off. This nigga didn't let HR know. This nigga did not post a calendar invite to his Outlook. So I don't know where this nigga is. I just know he better have put his PTO in. That's all I'm saying.
I thought, okay, so you're correct. He did not, leave like the out of office messages on at all, period. But I thought you knew that he was actually too tied up. He's actually gotten into like a really serious bad hair day, right? Because he was trying to figure out like his next hairstyle. Because he kind of want that old thing back, like Samson. His takes ain't been as hot, ain't been as soul snatching as they used to be since he cut his hair off. So, and then he had that Puerto Rican lineup. So he's trying to figure out something else. So we don't know what he's gonna come up with, but maybe next week, I don't know. We're gonna see where it's at, baby. I look forward to it.
Yeah, we may just have Bruno Mars on next week. Y'all probably won't notice the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give him some time to figure it out. But yeah, I will be coordinating with Waving the Red Flag HR just to make sure that everything's copacetic with his time. We can't have time theft issues around this camp. We need to run a tight ship.
Yeah, even though we are a very small business.
We won't get bigger if we don't tighten up on these practices.
We won't get bigger. Absolutely not, goddammit. Yeah. What are we talking about first? Because we got it was a busy week, man.
What do you feel particularly passionate about? Because I'm kind of.
Ooh, okay. Two things in particular: Schulz and the CEO assassination. So fuck it, let's go with Schulz first.
Cool. All
right. So I'm pretty sure like you've seen the clips or like maybe that whole segment when Schulz was talking about Kendrick Lamar.
I don't even know if I'll get hard. But if we're in a cell, there's a chance that if we're in a cell and we're bored and we done tattooing each other, whatever you do in the cell.
Talking about how he would fuck Kendrick Lamar. Like literally just went on and on a rant about how he would have his way.
Make love to him, have his way with him.
Yes. One-on-one in the cell, he would hold Kendrick up by his ankles and let, matter of fact, just out of the kindness of Andrew Schulz's heart, let Kendrick choose the position.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about that?
I think first and foremost, it was just bewildering. Because I think that even though I don't find Schulz funny, and I don't think that his brand of like shock and awe humor lands with someone like me, even though I can, I do understand that it does land for some people for whatever reason. I'm not going to arbitrate that in this particular segment. But I at least can usually follow his shtick, even though I don't like it I just don't think it'll ever land with me. I can at least follow what he's trying to do. Yeah. This one was just confusing. Like I couldn't even understand like where there would even be like the semblance of a joke and the semblance of some even sort of like dark, edgy humor aspect of it. So I remember watching it the first time and I'm just like confused. Like what the fuck is he trying to do? And I know he's been trying to dissect it both online, responding to Twitter comments, and he did the kind of follow up sit down with Charlemagne. And
oh, that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, see. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of it. I've only seen like a couple clips. But just in how he's responding, like trying to compare like what he said to No Vaseline, it's just like it just seems, again, it seems like a person who has completely lost their own plot, which is antithetical to how people view Schulz, because most people that like to are indifferent on Schulz seem to have this perception that he's doing all of this stuff on purpose, that he's some sort of master of dealing in the trade of edgy humor and all this kind of stuff. This seems like he lost his own plot. This seems like he just was saying some shit. There was no intended joke, and he just let some shit fly and just decided to roll with it and see what happened, and just to see what happens. So I'm just confused. But even all that being said, if you're trying to do your version of No Vaseline, it also just showcases the fact that he doesn't really know the spaces that he tends to dabble in as well as he would like people to think he does, because what he did versus what No Vaseline did are two completely fucking different things. So I just would really like to know like what he even thought in the moment when he was doing that kind of shit. And what did you think in the editing process? What did you think when you released it? You know what I mean? Like,
right, because I just don't get
it. It's not alive.
Yeah, no. It's so many things to it, because like, so I would like famously in one of our most infamous episodes that didn't go well with the people, like we was talking about Andrew Schulz. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't hate the guy. But when I heard that nigga say this shit, and amongst other things, especially since like in that specific context, when I saw like other shit come out after we recorded that episode, I was like, oh, goddamn, yeah, all right, shit. Didn't know that one. But when I saw him say like that shit, I'm like, what the fuck is you doing? I'm like, nah, that ain't it, bro. Like, you playing a dangerous game, for one, because like you're not even making a joke. Like, oh yeah, you kind of like, oh yeah, like Kendrick's friends, every one of his friends would beat the shit out of me, would kill me. But Kendrick just won in a one-on-one fight. I would beat him so bad that I would have my way with him in any way I wanted to. Like, kind of using that as an analogy in a fight, but it got so far into I would just fuck you. And I would grape you, like, because that's basically saying I would grape Kendrick Lamar. And just the image of this white man doing that to one of our most prominent black male figures in current day society is absolutely insane. And just like you said, like, what the fuck was the point? What are you thinking? Is like completely lost the plot? Because that was not a fucking joke. Like, it's not. There's nothing funny about it. There's no punchline there. It's just you straight up saying that you would grade Kendrick Lamar as an analogy to how bad you would beat him up in a one-on-one fight in response to a goddamn one bar, maybe one bar in a song
where he was not explicitly named and could have applied to
at all.
Numerous people. Could have applied to numerous people.
Numerous. Now, credit. When I heard it, when I actually caught the ball, like, that was the first thing I thought of, because shits and gigs went on Flagrant, and Andrew started the thing off.
Wait, what is the black girlfriend effect? This is
you don't know about
just glow up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a black girlfriend. All of a sudden, he's got buzz cut, like clean shape up.
Glows
up, bro.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends, they
grow
step,
a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of.
So it's fine if you don't want to take it personally, but to go to that extent with that is insane. Absolutely fucking insane. And two, it's like you playing a real dangerous game, my nigga, because people literally get killed for saying shit like that. Like, murdered on site. Like, if you said that shit to another nigga, especially from a West Coast nigga, a gang affiliated nigga, said that you would fuck him, have your way with him, jail style, you could get killed on the spot. Like, that's guns drawn out language. Niggas get killed for less. And I'm not saying, I hope Andrew Schulz gets killed or one of Kendrick's posses, but that's some real shit. And there's a lot of real dangerous niggas that fuck with Kendrick Lamar too. So I don't understand what kind of protection you think you got.
And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people focused on. Because again, I haven't seen the full conversation between him and Charlemagne that happened after those comments.
Yeah.
But what I have seen has focused on the fact that Andrew Schulz has very much leaned into this aspect of, like, people are giving me death threats and they're threatening my children in the comments on this one. And I'm like, you're exhibiting a lack of live by the sword, die by the sword that you seem to expect of the people that you call out, right? Like you're expecting the other people that he deals with and the groups of people that he deals with to be fine with his brand of quote unquote humor and just take it on the chin because it's a joke. But when people respond in kind to your quote unquote joke, you want to be all scared and fragile and just leave me and my family alone kind of shit. So it's like,
it's not that deep.
Again, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, man. So like if you don't want to attract that kind of energy, then maybe you shouldn't put that kind of energy out. Which is, I think, is the point that a lot of people are making in response to the very specific and very small clip that I have seen. I have not, and again, I want to continue to highlight that I have not seen that full interaction, but it was very much him being very much like, man, when you threaten my kids and you threaten, all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, you had this whole segment about sexual assaulting a person. Right, somebody's father, somebody's son, somebody's husband or fiance,
Right.
and you weren't thinking about how that would impact their well-being or how that would impact, their social sphere and their family and all that kind of stuff and their mental well-being. And now you want all of this like consideration because again, you can't match the smoke that you just blew into the air, which I think again just showcases that he lost his own plot.
Yeah, he ain't ready for that shit like at all. Because again, yeah, he lost. I agree. I can't agree with that phrasing more. He lost his own plot, and honestly, got way too big for his britches. I mean, it's just a lot of shit this nigga done said before too. That was fucked up. that was, I guess, more hidden, well hidden behind the guise of a joke. Because, like, say for instance, I like South Park. I still like how South Park does their writing, like the kind of like the edgy humor, because it's still they do irony really well to where you can understand where the fucked up part is actually hurting the people. You can understand the actual irony of the situation, and then like it's kind of like in such a comical fashion that you can laugh at it, or just like, oh damn, that was a really smart way to do satire with this thing, you know. But Schulz is not that. At the end of the day, he's not that level of good with that sort of thing. And plus, again, this is just straight up, I will grape this person. And for one, this is a white man saying this to a black man. And then all that imagery, like buck breaking and like slavery, and then like, you know, kinds of called into mind to a lot of other black people.
And I do want to say that what I'm about to say is not how I think neither you nor Eddie have approached this conversation. So I want to give that caveat up front. But I do find it odd that there were a significant amount of minority men, specifically black men, that were willing to excuse and defend his behavior when they thought they weren't explicit targets in the way that they became targets as a part of the Kendrick Lamar conversation, right?
Oh.
So I do imagine that like there were groups that he highlighted and he spotlighted in his quote unquote humor that felt how a lot of black men feel now. And a lot of black men were previously okay with being like, oh, it's just a joke. And now that they're the butt of an insensitive quote unquote joke, even though again, I don't think it was, I think he lost the plot and I don't think he really even executed anything relating to a joke in this one. But now that they're the butt of the joke from his perspective, at least, now it's up in arms. Now it's all like, what the fuck are we, you know, like doing all this kind of shit. So it's like, I think a lot of people who were defending him in some of these circumstances now kind of see him more for what he is, which is why I don't like him. I'm not a fan. I don't prescribe to that. And I'm not even a person that like dislikes edgy humor. I think there's a place for edgy humor. I just don't think that he has done it particularly well in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this too, and you might be disappointed to hear this, but it's still niggas that are defending what he said about Kendrick.
I know Charlamagne sat down with him. Charlamagne wasn't angry.
Charlamagne sit down with this nigga every week.
Yeah,
but
like
so two things. The shit that I saw that niggas was saying in defense of Andrew Schulz was, oh, it's a joke. Oh, he's just saying that he would beat Kendrick up this, you know, so bad. Oh, I thought you Kendrick fans were so smart you could read between the lines. That type of dumbass shit. And then with Charlamagne, I was disappointed because that was definitely donkey of the day worthy. I wasn't expecting Charlamagne to give him donkey of the day because of the relationship they have. Yeah. And especially to go in on him the way that he should have been going in on, the way that he's gone in on so many other people that have done less. Then say some shit like that, especially if Charlamagne is such a staunch Kendrick ally and supporter. And the white man that's literally less than a foot from you say some shit like that, and you don't even give him donkey of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and we have not seen the Brilliant Idiots episode where they actually did like talk about it. It's like 2 hours. I just looked it up. But
I've watched a total of 5 minutes. So like I'm not trying to be too hard on either of them in regards to that, because again, I have not watched the vast majority of it. But
be careful now. Be careful. Don't say you're not trying to be too hard. Goddamn it,
I want to be very clear. I am saying fuck Schulz. I've said that in previous episodes. I've said it to both you and Eddie. I think that I don't think he deserves a platform. I think that his platform is largely harmful. it would be one of those situations because I know like some of the stuff like watching bits and pieces of the episode that y'all were on and like reading the comments, like people were saying stuff like, "Oh, you guys are angling for a collab," or like you guys are trying to get on and all that kind of situation. That would be one of those situations where I would pull an Eddie and I would utilize my PTO. Like I wouldn't appear on that, for example, because I don't even want to associate with it. I would have hard conversations about my employeeship on here in regards to that, which would be a rare situation for us because I typically think that the guests that we have are very much aligned with like our general like ethos, and I think that would be one of the few times where I would be like, this isn't who we are. Like I don't think this is necessary for like our brand or anything like that. But
yeah, I mean when we first started out, it's like because with my sense of humor, Eddie's sense of humor, but also like you kind of being like that glue in terms of not going too far. Like back then we was first starting out, like the first couple of years, it would have made sense. But it's just like he's gotten so bad. It's like worse to present day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like what the fuck. So yeah.
Which I think is intentional. Like I think his plan is working the way he wants it to work. I think he wants to be able to tap into certain spaces at will while still trying to maintain some level of being quote unquote down with the culture to allow him to push the envelope and be able to say like, well, look, man, I hang out with Charlemagne. Like I think he's trying to play both fences, but I think his ultimate goal is to be one of these people that slowly moves into more red pilly, more right wing like philosophy, so that he can tap into that base whenever he feels like he wants to be the crossover artist, so to speak.
Unfortunately, I think that's already underway. Like I think he's kind of like to your point. He's been because I was when you were saying that I was thinking like he's already been like Joe Roganified.
Yeah,
because he's collabed with him like multiple times, and Joe Rogan has just like gotten so much worse and like right.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan used to be a sensible person.
Yes,
like early Rogan. Yeah, early Rogan like interviews were because I made a comment on Twitter about Rogan, and then somebody DM'd me and they were like, give me like specific examples, and I was like, oh well, here, because I actually did have like quite a few of them bookmarked to show kind of like transition. Yeah. But I end up going back and watching some of the early stuff, and it's drastic, man. Like there are like certain times where like people would say like very conspiracy theory, off the wall kind of like Pizzagate kind of children hidden in Wayfair furniture kind of shit, and he'd be like, no. He'd be like, no. Like he's just smoking a joint. He's like, what you're saying is stupid. Like, Well, actually, he's usually very respectful, so he wouldn't say like what you're doing is stupid. He'd say, I don't think that's true. Like he'd say something like that. Like he would very much call bullshit. Yeah. When he saw it, and now it's just a completely different fucking podcast.
Yeah, and I haven't seen like any recent episodes like in full.
Mm-hmm.
I might have seen like some clips, and like like those clips paint him as still being like a relatively sensible person, depending on the guest he has, because he still has like entertaining guests, or like just it's not all whoop de whoop.
Yeah.
Race me.
He'll have Bill Burr on there and shit. Like
hey baby, you got to be careful, baby. You calling out Bill Burr? The niggas. Some people don't like him either.
Hey man, Bill Burr is a centrist with a capital C though. So whatever we want to do with that, whatever we want to make of that what you will. I'm not saying that Bill Burr is Jesus or anything. I'm not saying that he's the model white man, but I'm saying there's a huge difference between having Aaron Rodgers on your podcast and Bill Burr on your podcast. And Joe Rogan has had both. So
yeah, I mean, it's even like, because I was just thinking about like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, or a nigga who's an expert with DMT. And they tell you about the time when they did DMT and they died for like 10 minutes, but they lived a whole nother life. And they had like this whole like interesting conversation. Like it'd be like shit like that that's in my algorithm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times I'll be missing like a lot of fucked up shit, a lot of right wing propaganda that's being spewed on these platforms present day. because I don't entertain it. I'm not in those spaces online, even to look it up. So that's why it's not in my algorithm in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, like going back to Andrew Schulz, and then like I think he's and how Joe Rogan is kind of like migrated to that side too. I think he's kind of like playing both sides while still trying to seem sensible in a sense. But I think it's just
And I also think that white men do this thing where, and I wish I could remember the actual name for the trope, but effectively it's I can say wild off the wall shit, but as long as I say it in a calm sort of way, then people just assume that I'm being sensible. It's like the Ben Shapiro kind of thing. So like he'll argue with somebody and he'll say like a bunch of bullshit and he'll make straw man arguments, and the other person gets frustrated and they get emotional and he stays here.
oh yeah. Even
So
keel.
he appears to be sensible and all this kind of stuff and calm and all this kind of
rational.
stuff. Yeah, he's the rational one because he's the one that's not upset. Even though he's the one saying the bullshit, I think a lot of time the Schulzes and the Rogans and definitely like the Ben Shapiros, they often lean into that specific thing like quite a bit, right? They have this. I'm riling up the libs and the libs can't, like all this kind of bullshit, but I'm the sensible one because, I just said some bullshit about, limiting women's rights. But I said it in a calm, even keeled way, and they're upset because I just insulted their personage, but they're emotional and irrational. So I definitely think that, and I definitely think specifically white men are able to tap into that for a lot of structural reasons, more so than almost any other group.
That's the patriarchy, baby. That's the benefit of being a white man. Referencing Charlemagne's book, what was it? Black Privilege? Is that the name of it? Was it Black Privilege?
I actually do not know.
It was a good book.
I was not even aware that Charlemagne had authored a book.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Look, okay, I'm not saying this to you.
Should I read it? Should I read it just for the?
Actually, yeah, like you should read his first two books. Like you should read his first two books.
He's written 2 books.
He's written 3, and all 3 are bestsellers.
New York Times bestsellers, or like Amazon.com
bestsellers, like legitimate bestsellers. All of them on Audible. Like I've read the first 2, or did on Audible, and I know, like, and I'm saying this not to you, but like to our listeners, because I know, like, just like Schulz, some people are just like staunch that I don't fuck with Charlemagne.
Yeah,
but say what you will about the nigga, but and you can like, hey, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. But there's a lot of good nuggets and gems in those first 2 books. It's just like common sense things that just make sense. But yes, but going back to privilege, in that book, I think it's Black Privilege.
Yeah, Black privilege, opportunity comes to those who create it.
Yeah, and in that vein, it's like everybody has their own like ecosystem of privilege in a way. Like, of course, nothing beats out white privilege because they are the masterminds, the archetypes, or the architects of this fucking society that we currently live in. But like every group has like a particular privilege, and that's just one of them that white men have.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
but, man. His latest book was released this year.
Yeah,
I am very much in the dark on this shit.
Yeah, he's again, say what you want to say about him, but he's a good author. Like those actually are good books. I haven't read the third one.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't plan on reading it, but the first 2 were pretty good.
Gotcha.
Even if it's at a basic minimal level, like very very accessible read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have something to tell the people real quick before we move on to our next hot topic, and that is. Do you mind giving me a drum roll real quick?
I don't know if people could hear that.
That was a pitter patter. What the fuck was that? You sound like you was shuffling paper, nigga.
My nigga, I'm beating on my desk down here, and the microphone's up here. Now I gotta fucking get bi-directional microphones or what the fuck ever. I don't know.
Damn, like That nigga just started shuffling shit around.
My nigga, I was beating on my desk with my knuckles.
I heard a quick little.
And I did that shit for like 30 seconds. Oh my god!
Bro,
see,
like,
now I gotta get a different microphone. I gotta get the full. fucking
no, you just
microphone array and
you
shit.
just
Now
gotta stop gaslighting me, okay? That's what you
Oh my
gotta stop doing. But all right, so good people of the podcast, or people who just randomly stumbled upon this show in the rabbit hole that is the internet, that is YouTube, that is Spotify. If you are still currently looking for a Christmas present for that special person in your life, or just somebody in your life that's very cerebral, that enjoys card games, that enjoys conversations, or that you just want to have some conversations with, or whatever, something sentimental, something extra, something with a little pizzazz, something just a little bit different, do not forget that your boys still have the famous, infamous It's a Red Flag card game. So you can definitely still pick up a deck or a pack of them things, because it got about a good 52, 53 prompts for unlimited conversation. If one don't hit, the next one will, god damn it. So don't you worry. And you know what I'm saying, it is a Christmas special going on, and since we are in like the holiday peak season, it's busy season, if you're going to get one, you're going to get a deck, please make sure to do it ASAP, because again, it's peak season, and I got some actually, we'll talk about that in a second, but you know, it's busy, so make sure you pick it up ASAP, with that sense of urgency, to make sure that, you know, your gift actually arrives on time when it's supposed to, so you can have that as a very nice stocking stuffer, or if you got your little you can just give that to it, like, you know, wrap it up real nice, and boom, you know what I'm saying, make sure you have a card attached with it. And yeah, so that's all I got. We're gonna get right back to it. What else we got on the docket?
healthcare CEO.
Ooh, fuck yeah.
Said, yo, I fired security 8 months ago. If I walk out of here and a nigga come from behind me out the staircase, hang, it was already supposed to happen. When I
Listen,
came
nigga,
in,
I don't know what kind of gun that is.
no, yo,
I don't know. That's a different kind of gun.
I, for one, don't feel bad at all. I want to be careful. I want to be careful because like this shit lives on the internet, and it's here forever. So I can't really articulate like my truest thoughts and sentiments, but I will first start out with extending condolences to his family, to his children, to his wife. Everything else is out of network, baby. You know what I'm saying? We up. You know what I'm saying? Runemdown Jake, baby. Let's go.
Oh my god. No, man, I agree. So like, I'm not deleting this tweet, and I'm sure it's still up. When Justice Scalia died, I made it very clear that I was not sad. He was a brilliant, literally brilliant legal mind. He was articulate like none other, and he was a very brilliant, very articulate racist. So what I wrote that, and I said that I feel very similar to you. I said I feel very sad for the people that may have potentially seen the good that he may have had to offer.
Yeah.
You know, whether that be his family, whether that be his kids, whether that be somebody that he worked with, whatever. But me, I shed 0 tears. Like I'm, you know, like I don't care. You know, like
0 prayers.
Yeah, prayers down. In fact,
prayers down. Yo, that's good.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not wasting my energy, you know, feeling sorry for these people. And I feel very similar, not quite as strongly about the CEO as I felt in that particular case, because I had very clear reasons why I actively did not like Scalia. But this CEO guy, again, you know, condolences to his family, condolences to the people that may have seen the good in what he did, but this was a man that didn't serve the populace in, I think, a positive way. So I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to hop on the internet and be like, oh, I'm happy he's dead, and, you know, extrapolate from that kind of situation. But we didn't know this nigga before he died. That's what I'm saying. I'm losing zero sleep, man. I'm not. Again, there's no prayers up for this shit. I saw it, I read it, and I'm like, yeah, moving on.
The thing that I found so interesting about it is because, at least in our like modern day, like our life, I don't think I have seen something like an assassination happen, and everybody just
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
What the
like,
fuck else?
I will say, yeah, that was
Bye.
crazy to see in real time. Like a collective, like we don't give a fuck to
Right.
a collective, we don't give a fuck to we're angry. Like somewhere along that, I mean, we're
Yeah.
happy to that spectrum was very wild to see.
Yeah.
Like in real time. Like so many people were very open about effectively have like a good riddance kind of attitude about it. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's new. That's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And I gotta and it's so and like so when you look at it through that lens, right, you gotta ask yourself, okay, like what stage are we as a populace? Like how bad is it for us Americans that when one of the CEOs of like one of the most trifling healthcare companies gets assassinated and then like leaves like, delay, depose, like on the shell casings. What like how frustrated and how tired are we to the fact that we finally just when we cheer on the vigilante, like silently cheer on the vigilante and be like, no,
Or
just
loudly.
remember, if you think you saw Runemdown Jake, you did it. Like that's the sentiment. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I it's fucked up because I like it. Part of me like it, but I don't want to. But I don't know what level it could get to. And I'm also not just saying like, oh, I'm for like people getting like killed in a sense. But I also hate politics. I hate government. Like I hate like all these establishments that do not actively serve the people. And it's like it's just all these things that fund the rich getting richer and relying on trickle down economics. Oh, you give the money to us, and we'll give some money to y'all. And everybody would be okay. Sound good? And that's exactly like where we're at, and especially like even more so where we're headed. And then I also made me think like with with Donald Trump getting elected president, like this shit is not going to get better at all. He's already got plans to depose of a lot of shit that the same poor white rural live in the fucking middle of nowhere jackasses that voted for his bitch ass. He's already got plans to take away like a lot of the things that would benefit them directly in terms of healthcare.
To be fair, every Republican president since George W. Bush has also like tried to do that, and those things still stand, right? Like George Bush, notoriously tried to replace Social Security with like those like spending accounts and like all that kind of stuff. And I remember Paul Ryan's push to get rid of entitlements, and they still stand. So people say a lot of stuff. At the end of the day, there are a lot. At the end of the day, every revenue bill, every revenue kind of situation, still has to go through the House, and those people have to report to a constituency every 2 years. That's why revenue bills have to go through the House, and those people are going to fold because they want to stay in power. Like if you take away entitlements, broadly defined entitlements, right, which help a lot of white people in red states, and you have to campaign again in 2 years on that situation, you will lose. Which is why when everybody tries to do this shit, they don't go away. That is why the ACA still exists. That is why Social Security, as it currently stands, still exists, is because these representatives want to stay in office. But all that to say, I think that's a very complicated aside. I do think that you bring up like a really good point in terms of where are we trending as society in terms of the level of desperation in terms of how people are doing stuff. But I think that gets complicated. I think that my simple point that I would like to add in addition to yours is kind of the conversation about legacy for people who care about that. So like a lot of people keep saying like, oh, this is somebody's father, this is somebody's somebody's son, somebody's brother, blah 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 blah. maybe if you don't want people to badmouth you when you die, maybe you should live a life where people don't badmouth you.
Live a life worthy of praise.
Yeah, you can. There are also people who legitimately don't give a shit, and for those people who legitimately don't give a shit, you know, the Elons of the world or what the fuck ever, like, cool, do whatever, do you. But like, if like I die and my family is put through the ringer based on my actions, I think that's on me. That's not on people derating my actions. Maybe I should have lived a better life. Maybe I shouldn't have been a piece of shit. So there's nothing stopping people who are pieces of shit from just like stopping that and like living a better life. Like maybe this is a wake up call for some of those people.
I hope so. Because you know, it's a lot of CEOs that should have more meetings in New York, if you know what I mean. At 7 a.m. to be specific. Maybe in Manhattan.
I did see a very interesting video just in terms of like the nuts, like getting into the nuts and bolts of the situation, about how they broke down basically like his technique and like the type of gun and like the type of gun he used, which was also, I think, extremely fascinating just to kind of sit back and kind of listen to like some quote unquote professionals kind of talk about what that looks like. And I think based on their analysis, it was very clear that this wasn't like a professional hit, effectively, right? So I'm leaning toward this being like a disgruntled like former customer, like somebody that got screwed over in this situation and just took it into their own hands, and not like a paid professional hitman.
Right. Yeah. No. And you know Eddie on that shit. And he's not here unfortunately because I don't believe that shit whatsoever, and I'm not even about to entertain this being like a conspiracy thing. So my brother, get your ass on this episode next time and defend yourself. But the hilarious thing to me was how they was like, how the other like investigators and how other police officers was like dick riding him when they saw the footage. They was like, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne. You see how the gun jammed up? You know, it's a pretty cheap pistol, but it's a specialized, you know what I'm saying? Silencer. And you see how quickly he unjammed it. It started boom, boom. Again, all very cleanly, all very precisely. We know he had time to prepare. This is very well executed, but he's no professional, but he's definitely been trained in the military. We would have him on our force, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like they was dick riding his ass.
And I think that was, and the video I saw was two former ex-military, and they were looking at it, and they were saying that it was very clear that he is familiar with guns, like that he spent a lot of time in the range, is how they said it. But they said that the two reasons why they thought it wasn't professional was because at the range that he was at with that kind of gun, a professional would have like hit him like square in like the back of the head, and it would have been done.
Yeah, he shot him in the back, like in the backpack.
Yeah, it never would have been two shots if it was professional. And also they were saying that a professional would have effectively fired off a few shots prior to that to kind of work out any malfunctioning from like the cycling of the actual gun. So, and also just being at range was also something they called out. They were saying that there's no way they would have did it at range. They would have walked up on them, you know, and effectively just put the gun like directly to the base of the neck, shot him, and then walked off. So they were very staunchly like that it wasn't a professional, but to your point, they were also very much like, this is somebody who's familiar with guns. This is somebody who shot guns before, even if it wasn't necessarily that gun a whole lot. So kind of splitting the difference from that perspective.
Absolutely, because however many times like that video has come across my timeline, like I did start wondering, you had a lot of leeway, a lot of opportunity, and you took a distant shot when you didn't have to.
Yeah,
like to your point, not how to get away with murder, but he could have definitely ended it like way quicker, way cleaner. But he wanted to get his villain arc off because he had them 3 casings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That he wanted to make sure were left at
That's
the scene
a good
of the crime.
I will also say the thing that I've been curious about is how does this potentially impact bus travel in the States? Because allegedly, you know, he took a bus from Atlanta to New York. I don't know if that was the same. I don't know, because I know they finally figured out that the guy that they were posting was not the actual guy. So given the fact that,
are you serious?
Yeah, given the fact that I know they said that the guy that they were posting isn't the actual guy, I don't know if he still took the bus. But assuming that all that information aside, that he still took the bus, it's very easy to like travel with weapons and like, you know what I mean? Like, like at points as a, you know, as a person who, you know, does stuff like I've taken buses before to avoid hassle, for example, right? So I wonder if there's going to come a point where there are like additional checks, like different mechanisms for maybe being more stringent on, say, like a megabus or like a Greyhound or whatever in the future based on this. But I would doubt it, just because most states let you just carry wherever you want anyway. So
yeah,
but I am curious.
That is a good thought, a good question. But I gotta say, I think for this particular situation, I don't think there's gonna be much change right now, because the people that they would affect the most is, of course, white niggas who love their fucking guns, and just people who crazy about guns in general.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna goddamn trample on my rights, have my firearm. You're already trying to take away my goddamn stock grip. Whoop-de-whoop. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just don't think that this situation is going to be it. Now, if it was a whole lot of black people doing shit like this, absolutely, no question. But, you know, until then, Runemdown Jake, we ain't seen you. Oh yeah, but no, there was what was it? I think it was this one last thought I had about it was, I wonder if Runemdown Jake gets away successfully, right? Like, what does this mean? Like, do we think more people are going to start taking like matters like this into our own hands? Because Blue Cross Blue Shield, real quick, Blue Cross Blue Shield was about to pass some bullshit where, you know, if you they were going to say, like, you know, we'll only pay up to a certain time limit for anesthesia. Mm-hmm. After that, you got to pay for that shit out of pocket. Anesthesia is expensive as fuck. The medical system is already fucked up enough, so they're taking more shit away from us and having to make us come out of pocket for more stuff. So, but shortly after this assassination from the United Healthcare nigga, Blue Cross Blue Shield rolled that shit back and was like, well, you know what? On second thought, we're gonna hold off on this decision for now. We're not gonna implement this change. We'll continue to keep paying for the anesthesia.
So one, I think that actual executives are just going to be super security up. So I don't think this will happen too much more. That's my guess. For right. One. My second thing is, I think people need to understand exactly how complicated the problem is with healthcare, and how most countries haven't figured out healthcare. Like, regardless of what people think about the United States healthcare system, it is probably the most sustainable like situation. Most people, to your point earlier, most people are underinsured, but the vast majority of people, thanks Obama, actually have healthcare in the United States.
But what about countries that have universal healthcare?
A lot of countries that have universal healthcare are looking to, because there's insolvency problems, right?
What's insolvency mean?
It means that they are running out of money to support their systems, right? So like taking NHS, the National Health Service in UK, private is on the ballot like all the time now. Or you have systems like Japan where they're constantly running at a deficit because of pricing issues and all that kind of stuff. The best possible system would be similar to what Germany does, which is actually what ACA was based on. It was based on the German system, which is effectively a public system with the private option, but you just keep prices low because of competitive edge within that marketplace. And the marketplace has certain things. But again, it's complicated. But the aspect that I wanted to call out from this in particular that makes it particularly complicated is that most people don't fully understand what insurance, how insurance works, right?
Yeah.
So the primary villains in the arc for healthcare costs, in my opinion, as a public health former public health practitioner, are actually big pharma and pharmacy benefit managers, because they're charging extra for this kind of stuff. So most
to make a profit.
Yeah, most
A big
insurance
profit.
companies. Yeah, most insurance companies. Period. Just any insurance companies don't make any money on your premiums at all, right? Anything that you pay, any copay that you pay, they make zero money on that. They insure you at a loss, and that's everybody, right?
Yeah.
And it even gets worse for the people that cost more, right? So for the people who have like chronic illness or in critical care, or people who are older that have to go to the doctor like quite a bit, they're losing a ton of money on those people, and they're losing a ton of money on all of us. They lose money. They make money back by investing float, usually and float is just basically like the money they hold from your premiums at a loss, but they invest that money and they have special permission to kind of do that kind of stuff. So these people are making up like gangbusters off of your money. The people who are making up like all this are like pharmacy benefit managers, and the consolidation of pharmacies and pharmacy benefit managers, and big pharma is like the big thing. So I think that for people who want to go down the rabbit hole of like what this would look like if things were to expand from a vigilante perspective, I think they'll find that the system is much more complicated than a few CEOs at a few insurance companies.
Yeah,
Is my ultimate point.
Absolutely. I guess it's just a thing to enforce change. Like, we're not fucking around with y'all no more. Type shit. Because you can protest whatever, but like, unfortunately, violence can be effective. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. It can be effective, but you're 100% right, because that was one thing I did think about too, in terms of the healthcare problem. Because one thing I got this information from a TikTok, so hey, I don't know if it's actually accurate, but whatever. Nigga was like, they've made like $3 billion in the last quarter. Like the healthcare system has profited $3 billion in the last quarter. I'm thinking to myself, well, they technically do need to be profitable to actually have the money to pay claims.
No, they don't.
No,
they don't.
No? Well, what the fuck is the problem with insolvency coming from?
Companies
we was on the same page.
Companies deficit spend all the time, man. The United States government deficit spends. most entities can deficit spend, like states can't, which is I think odd and weird. But they just deficit spend.
So okay, fair, but in an ideal situation, right? Like if we just started from like scratch, if you coming to me, say for instance, like you coming to me, you need $10 every 2 weeks. I need to make sure I have at least 15 to be able to give you that 10. If that analogy makes any sense. So that's just where my thought was going.
Yeah.
But
that money, so you're correct. But what all I'm saying is like that $15 doesn't necessarily need to be profit, right? So like I could have, if I'm looking at corporate governance, I could have a revolving credit facility, or I could have VC or whatever. Or I could have, private equity funds or whatever, which a corporation is still able to get, right? And I can give you that money and I can pay that money back. And then I can have like a long-term plan of how I get solvent, but I don't have to be profitable in order to give you that money. But you're right, I do have to get that $15 from somewhere.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's the money at the end of the day. Like, debt is, because that's a big ass problem too. Like, yes, you can definitely dig your way into debt and still like take care of the business, but how sustainable is that? And then what happens when the debt actually gets called? When you get called on your debt, is it going to be like what do you call it? I gotta reference an Ab-Soul song. Chattel, like people as currency. Like you can sell the people to clear the debt. Like, you know what I mean? Like what the fuck does that look like? Because debt does not work on a long-term scale. Like, I mean, for anybody, for any entity. The
United States government.
Well, okay, so when I mean long term, I mean like long term. Like just for us, like that's just like a small. That's just a blip in the system, just to identify, I guess, like what could happen in the future for like a large entity such as the United States government, because that shit is not, I don't think that's super sustainable, because one day that debt is going to be called unless we all just blow the fuck up.
Yeah,
Like,
they're never going to
something's
call the
gonna
United
happen
States
with
on
it.
his debt. No, it's not.
Yeah, well, maybe.
That's
We'll see.
why I bring that point. So one, depending on when you look at it, usually historically the largest holder of United States debt. So the person, the people, the entity that the United States typically owes the most to is actually the United States citizens. So we don't have the authority to ask them for that, to call them on that debt. The second and third, depending on when you look at it from a historical standpoint, yes, it's typically either Saudi Arabia or China.
China.
But the fact of the matter is we have the most powerful military that the world has ever seen. So like nobody can, like, what are they going to do? Fight us? Have at it.
Yeah,
Good
mutually assured destruction. See, that's the problem with you gun-toting ass niggas, man. That's all y'all think about. Like, what the fuck we got more guns and bullets than you. Well,
We do.
excuse me, not excuse me.
You do.
Ma'am or sir.
I mean, we
Or
do.
they or them.
Their navy's like 60 years behind ours, man. Like our stockpile of like nukes is like 3 times theirs. Like,
and
we had one threat, and they're getting beat by Ukraine with like 40-year-old weapons from us.
But do you see? I know, right? But do you see kind of like where I'm coming from, like how fucked up that is?
Yes.
Like, okay, because like we outspend on military budgets versus like healthcare, like things that would actually like benefit the lives.
But I do want to say that, I do want to say this too. Like,
Yeah.
and we've had this before too. So one, the United States can spend whatever it wants to spend on whatever it wants to spend. The reasons why people don't do that are political. And I also want to say that in terms of stuff that people think the United States doesn't spend a lot of money on, if you actually look at the budget, the United States outspends most countries in healthcare too. The United States outspends most countries in education too. We spend one day, and this is mostly for the listeners, like go look at what the United States actually spends in healthcare in terms of stuff like what people in low income like funding get from like say like CHIP funding and all that kind of stuff, the money that filters through the states, Medicare and Medicaid like benefits and all that kind of stuff. It will shock you. It will shock you, because I think what a lot of people think is that we're spending all this money on the military, so therefore nothing's going to that. And we spend multiple European countries' GDPs and their annual budgets combined in education and healthcare expenditure. Now, some would say it should be more, and I actually agree, but it's not a drop in the bucket. It's huge sums of money.
I'm sure. Okay. That's cool. That's great to know. But I guess I also have to ask, okay, where's that money going?
That's a good question.
You know,
that's a great question.
Because you can spend all this money, but if it's not actually going in the right places, then it don't matter if they outspend in other countries when other countries are doing it more effectively and more efficiently with less. That's at the end of the day what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And I also think that's, man, we could do a whole episode on that one. Let's jot that down for another day. But for a lot of people that want like a primer on pros and cons for like specifically healthcare systems, because there's all the kind of things. There's a PBS documentary, it's a Dateline documentary called Sick Around the World. It's a good like introductory like primer, and it'll kind of wet your whistle and kind of see like nobody kind of has this figured out, and we kind of think it's there are definitely a lot of developed countries that are doing it better than we're doing. But there are a lot of places that are doing it worse, again, just from a sustainability standpoint. But almost every developed country has better health outcomes than we do. So to Josh's point, I think it just becomes of how are we using the money? And I think we're not using it well.
That's all I'm saying, baby.
Yeah.
Totally agree. You know what I'm saying? The Josh and the Alvin, the A&J podcast, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
We out here.
Yeah.
You want to do a lightning round real quick and then call it?
Yeah. Give it a quick 5-minute.
Yeah. Well, let's just do a lightning round, just like a one question lightning round. I know that technically isn't a lightning round, but anyway. Do you think it's possible to have a successful dating life without dating with the intent to be in a relationship?
Yes.
Expound. Lightning round style.
I think that dating in and of itself in the moment should be a fun and fulfilling experience. So I don't think that I need to be dating anybody with the idea that like this person has to be my wife, because I'm supposed to, in my mind, in my frame of reference, right? This is what I believe. I'm supposed to be enjoying that moment in time, that snapshot. So therefore, I don't need to be thinking about anything else. And I think that the long-term stuff comes from a multitude of snapshots where I enjoy being with this person. So like I'm basically just like compiling the trends from a long stand of enjoyable snapshots, enjoyable times in the moment that build to me wanting that. So therefore I don't have to date you with the intention of anything other than enjoying your time. And you enjoying my time, hopefully.
And not being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you think on that one?
Well,
I'm very curious.
I see the world in gray. I think it's important to define dating and then calling out what a person is actually looking for. So if you're not looking to be in a relationship, absolutely, you can have a great and a very fulfilling dating life, but from your frame of reference, because this depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a relationship? Are you looking for long-term commitment? Are you looking for hookups? You can, if you can definitely have a fulfilling dating life in all three of those areas. But if you are a person that, say, for instance, if you're looking for like a long-term commitment and you have to date to find that, you could also not have a great experience too. Like you could not have a good time trying to find what the fuck you're trying to find.
That's fair.
And then that would give someone the impression of, oh no, if you're not dating to like settle down and to be monogamous for the rest of your life with this person that likes you and whoop, then you should just not have sex. Or you should just not date, point blank, period, until you come to the realization that, hey, you actually do want to be married. But then guess what? Given on one individual's circumstances with you, for instance, like not like in real life, but just as an example, you Alvin say, you know what? I was a dog ass nigga, bro. I was out here, you know what I'm saying? But I learned my lesson. I'm ready to get married. I want to do better. And you meet a girl, you finally get back out here in these streets after a year off, after a year of working on yourself, healing, doing God's work. You know what I'm saying? And you get into, you start dating again with the intent to be in that long-term relationship, and it don't work. It still don't work out with a person that wants you. Like you just don't want them. Like that's just not the person for you. That person that wanted you will still look at you and be like, you should have waited. Why the fuck why you wasting my time type shit. Possibly, potentially. That's one outcome. That's one potential outcome. So I guess it just really depends on the person, man. I think to answer the question, yes, it is very possible, but the dating pool just has a lot of piss and shit in it anyway. So God help us all.
Here, man. It's hard out here.
Yeah.
Oh,
is it hard if we say it's hard? Are we making it more difficult than it need to be?
Honestly, maybe, man. Self-fulfilling prophecy kind of shit. That is a real thing.
Destiny.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you are the subject of crass and insensitive jokes made by a person that is intentionally trying to be edgy and dark with their humor, you may be seeing a red flag. But if you are a person that has no idea what they want from the dating pool, and is just out here going without intention or without fully understanding what they want themselves, you may be waving a red flag. Or communication. You may be waving a red flag from that perspective, right? So it has been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It has been Alvin. It has been Josh. Once again, we will have to follow up with HR to figure out when Eddie will return from his hair emergency. Trying to re-up that swag. But make sure that you check us out wherever podcasts are sold. Check us out on Spotify, on YouTube. Make sure that you're looking at YouTube membership options. Make sure that you're checking out our Patreon for all of those benefits. Also, for the people that have the YouTube membership and have the Patreon, we are very much open to feedback on how we can continue to make those experiences better, because we are here for you. Waving the red flag is 100% a democracy. So let us know if there's anything that we can do
Don't
to
let
make
Eddie
those
hate that
things.
shit.
Yeah, he's gonna come back and say, actually,
quick note.
we're more of a representative federalist system. We're actually a republic, Alvin. We're actually a republic. But just make sure that you're letting us know what you need and checking that out. I will also say that if you take advantage of the Patreon services, you get access to our Discord, which is a thriving community. Been very impressed with the level of dialogue that's been taking place from that perspective.
Yeah,
make sure that you're copping the card game. Make sure that you are getting those orders in as soon as you can so that you can get them in by Christmas. It's a good stocking stuffer, if nothing else. And yeah, that's been Waving the Red Flag. That's the pod.
Absolutely. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff if you feel so inclined. We greatly do appreciate it. And to all you ride or dials out there that come and see us every single week, you're seen. We love you and thank you. Salute and salutations.
It's a red flag.